You are standing in a supermarket aisle staring at 47 varieties of pasta sauce. You came in for one thing. You have been standing here for 4 minutes. You are no closer to choosing. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet frustration is building, not at the pasta sauce, but at yourself. Why is this so hard? Why does something this small feel this heavy? The answer isn't weakness. It isn't indecisiveness as a personality flaw. It is something far older, far more structural, and far more fascinating than that. Your brain was never designed to make the kinds of decisions modern life asks it to make. And the mismatch between what your brain was built for and what you are now asking it to do is producing a kind of friction that researchers are only beginning to fully understand. This is the hidden reason you can't make a decision. Your brain makes approximately 35,000 decisions every day. Most of them are invisible, whether to shift your weight, whether to scratch an itch, or which direction to move your eyes. But the ones you are conscious of, the ones that feel like decisions, number in the hundreds, and each one draws on the same limited resource. Psychologist Roy Baumeister first described this resource in 1998. He called it ego depletion. His research found that the act of making decisions, any decisions, consumes a finite mental energy. The more decisions you make, the worse your subsequent decisions become. His famous experiments showed that people who had spent time making a series of small choices, such as what color car, what accessories, what features, later showed dramatically reduced ability to persist at a difficult task. The decision-making had drained something real, and once it was drained, performance degraded. Later research has complicated Baumeister's original model. The specific mechanism of ego depletion has been debated and refined, but the core finding has been replicated in multiple forms. Decision-making is cognitively costly. Every choice you make costs something, and the account you are drawing from is not unlimited. But why? Why should choosing between two things cost anything at all? Why doesn't your brain just evaluate the options, select the best one, and move on? The answer takes you back roughly 200,000 years. For the vast majority of human history, the decisions your ancestors made were urgent, concrete, and embodied. Should I eat this? Is that the sound of a predator? Should I trust this person? Do I run or stay? These decisions required fast embodied responses. They were high stakes, and the cost of a wrong answer was immediate and physical. Your brain evolved a system optimized for exactly this kind of decision: fast, heuristic, pattern matching. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman describes this as System 1 thinking: automatic, rapid, emotional, and largely unconscious. The problem is that modern decisions are rarely like this. Modern decisions are abstract, multiple, low stakes in the immediate moment, but high stakes in aggregate, and they require holding many variables in mind simultaneously. Which job to take? Which apartment? Which relationship to pursue? Which pasta sauce? These decisions require what Kahneman calls System 2 thinking: slow, deliberate, effortful, and exhausting. Your brain did not evolve for System 2 thinking to dominate your day. It evolved for System 1 to handle most of what you encountered, with System 2 reserved for rare, important problems. Modern life has inverted this. You now face hundreds of System 2 demands daily, and your brain is running a program that was never designed to sustain this load. Here's where it gets more specific. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio spent years studying patients with damage to a region of the brain called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. These patients had perfectly intact intelligence. Their reasoning ability was normal, their memory was fine, their language was unaffected, but they could not make decisions. In one famous case, Damasio describes a patient, whom he calls Elliot, who could spend an entire afternoon deciding where to have lunch, analyzing every variable endlessly, unable to commit. What was missing in Elliot, Damasio found, was not logic, it was emotion. The damage to his ventromedial prefrontal cortex had severed the connection between his reasoning and his emotional responses. And without emotion, there was no way to assign weight to options. No way to say, this matters more than that. The logic ran in loops. Nothing was more important than anything else, so nothing could be chosen. Damasio called this the somatic marker hypothesis. The idea is that the body, the feelings, the gut responses, and the subtle emotional signals acts as a shortcut in decision-making. When you have a gut feeling about something, that gut feeling is real information. It is your brain's emotional processing system flagging a pattern, drawing on your entire history of past experiences, and compressing all of that into a signal that says, go toward this or move away from that. Without these signals, decisions become computationally infinite. You can always find one more variable to consider. This is why overthinking kills decisions. The more you analyze, the more you activate system 2, and the more you suppress the very emotional signals that were designed to bring the process to a close. You are overriding the shutdown mechanism. But there is a second layer to this that goes even deeper. Psychologist Barry Schwartz published a book in 2004 called The Paradox of Choice. His central finding was counterintuitive and uncomfortable. More options do not make people happier or more satisfied with their choices. They make people less happy, less satisfied, and more likely to regret what they chose. Schwartz distinguished between two types of decision makers: maximizers, people who need to find the objectively best option, and satisficers, people who are looking for something good enough. Maximizers, in a world of abundant choice, are miserable. Every option chosen is accompanied by the awareness of every option not chosen. The more options there are, the more potential regret there is. And potential regret, Schwartz found, is one of the most powerful inhibitors of decision-making that exists. Your brain does not just evaluate what you are getting, it simultaneously evaluates what you are giving up. Behavioral economists call this loss aversion. Research by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky demonstrated that losses feel roughly twice as powerful as equivalent gains. Losing $10 hurts more than gaining $10 feels good. Choosing one option feels like losing every other option. And the more options there are, the greater the loss. This is why 47 varieties of pasta sauce are not liberating. It is a loss multiplier. Every jar you pick up represents dozens of jars you are not picking. Your brain is running a subtle grief calculation in the background, and it is not finishing. So what do you actually do with this? The research points in a clear direction. The goal is not to make better decisions through more analysis. It is to reduce the cognitive and emotional cost of deciding. First, reduce the number of decisions you make, not by avoiding decisions, but by automating them. The famous example is Barack Obama, who, during his presidency, wore only gray or blue suits. Not because he lacked opinions about clothes, but because he understood that decision-making capacity is finite, and he was not willing to spend it on suits. Every decision you pre-commit to, what to eat for breakfast, what to wear, what time to wake up, is a decision you do not have to make again. The account stays fuller for what matters. Second, set artificial constraints. Research by psychologist Sheena Iyengar, who has spent decades studying choice, consistently shows that people are more satisfied with their decisions when the number of options is limited. When a grocery store reduced its jam selection from 24 varieties to 6, sales increased tenfold. Fewer options meant less regret, faster decisions, and higher satisfaction. Constraint is not a limitation on freedom. It is a gift to the choosing mind. Third, learn to recognize the shutdown signal. When you have a gut feeling, when something feels right before you can fully explain why, that feeling is not irrational. It is your somatic marker system doing exactly what it was designed to do. You can verify it, you can question it, but dismissing it entirely and returning to pure analysis is not the rational move. It is the move that produces the endless loop. You were not built for the decision landscape of modern life. Nobody was. The ancient circuitry that served your ancestors perfectly on the savannah is now being asked to navigate a world of infinite options, abstract stakes, and permanent regret. The friction you feel is not a personal failing. It is a structural mismatch between the brain you inherited and the world that was built around it. Tonight, somewhere between dinner and sleep, you will probably face a decision that feels harder than it should. Something small, something that shouldn't matter. And you will stand there in your own version of the pasta sauce aisle, running calculations that never quite finish. That is not a flaw in you. That is the ancient cost of being a thinking creature in a world that has more options than your brain was ever designed to hold. Choose something. It will be fine. The choice is what matters. The choice almost never does. So next time, remember this, and you will be happy in your life. Keep smiling. See you in next video.